Welcome to the channel. This is John Wesley, the Journeyman Guitarist. Please hit the button, like, subscribe, ring the bell, do all the things. All right. I am sick. I just got back from touring last week. A lot of flying around in the big germ tubes. I felt a sinus infection kind of coming on last week, and as I was flying, I could almost feel it jamming into my upper sinuses. Now, I typically try not to hit an antibiotic right away on that, and so I've held off. But it's been almost a week now, and I'm done. Now, this is a situation I've encountered many times in my career. I used to gig 5-6 nights a week in clubs in between touring, and then I would be out on tour, and I'd be in Europe, South America, the States, cold climates, and you get sick. It's just going to happen. You're living on a bus with 12 to 14 guys, you're going to get sick. So that doesn't mean you don't get to perform. You're going to have to go on stage sick. And in the 80s, it was easier for me because I was just playing guitar and singing light background vocals. But in the early 90s, I launched my own solo career, and if there was a gig, the gig was me. And I did a lot of touring as a solo acoustic opening act for a band called Marillion, and we played all over the world together. And the first time I ever really got sick and had to perform was a big night for me, and I'll never forget it. And I want to tell this story because I didn't know what to do then, and I want to give you guys some tips that I've kind of learned over the years to help avoid the situation that I went through, and I'll try and make it as quick as possible to sum the story up. We were playing a very famous venue in Paris, 2 nights at La Cigale. And La Cigale was sold out. And it's this beautiful classic old venue. And on the second night, the record company that I was signed to at the time, Arcade CNR, was pushing my album and had planned a really big push. They loved the record, had never seen me live. Only the A&R rep, Olivier, had seen me live. And on the second night, they all showed up. It was a planned thing, and I knew it was coming. But the first night went really well. Stayed out a little late. The second, after the first show, having some drinks. But I woke up the next morning, and myself and Steve Hogarth, the singer from Marillion, were both really sick, to the point of our voices were in jeopardy, and we had a sold-out show that night. So immediately the tour manager got on the phone and called in a French doctor. French doctor came in, shot us up with some antibiotics, which really weren't going to take effect that day. But they shot us up with some steroids that would help open up your throat. And through the day, my throat kind of started to open up, but I didn't know what else to do. I was in France. They don't have the same kind of cold medicines I was used to having. And so I at that time, I really hadn't developed a great warm-up routine, so I was freaked. And I remember hanging out with some guys on the beaches. I used to do the beaches a lot, and they told me a little secret, a little trick they would do is they would, on times when their voices got a little blown out, they would lower their tuning a half step, from standard E to E flat. And I thought, what a brilliant idea. I'm going to do this. I'm going to lower my tuning. I'm going to get through the gig. It'll be great. So I prepped through the day. I didn't do a lot of warm-up because, again, I still didn't have that understanding. I was younger then. My voice usually came right out of the gate. I was usually really on it. And I was hurting. And the steroid, it kind of made me dizzy and kind of made me woozy. And in addition to having a ripping, whatever it was, cold, sinus infection, flu, I can't remember. I walked out on stage that night in front of a sold-out show, and in front of my record company, the president of the record company, all the staff. I've never told this story. And I had not really gone through the entire set at a half step down. So I discovered about my voice that night, and many years after, is that when I'm in trouble and my voice is hurting, I actually do better by singing higher. And that when I lower the pitch or try and sing the low parts, it's actually my low sections that go first. So I walk out on stage. It's a cluttered stage because the Marillion guys have a ton of gear. I've got a very little space to perform in. And I'm woozy. I'm dizzy. I start singing, and what comes out of my mouth and my throat, I just can't describe. It was horrendous. I was croaking. I remember hearing later that the light man was up in the rafters on the follow spot howling because it just sounded so egregious. And I didn't know what to do, and I just kept going and going and trying, and I couldn't retune my guitar up because I hadn't made the connection that was the problem yet. And oh my God, it was horrible. It was the worst 45 minutes of my life. The set was very dark, and trying to move around a little bit, trying to put somewhat of a life into the show, I stepped backward and I tripped over the bass pedals and fell on the floor and had to get up and finish the set. Not only croaking, sounding terrible, out of tune, the whole 9 yards, I fell in front of several thousand people in my record company. At the end of the set, my rep came back, and he did not know or understand that I was sick. He just thought I was drunk. And in French, he came up and he said, "What are you, John? Are you drunk? Everyone has left now. They all think you were drunk. What the hell was that?" And I tried to tell him, I'm not drunk. I'm sick. And with that, I learned a big lesson. Number one, don't detune when you're sick. Number two, if you're sick and you figure it out in the morning, you got to do something. So I wanted to tell that story, and I wanted to tell you a few of the things I'm going to do through the day to capture, and then maybe by the end of the day, I'll be able to track some of this, and I'll do it for you, and we'll see how far I've got. Like right now, it's not very clean. I'm not pitching well. I don't feel very good. You can hear the sinuses. Like even my hair is bad. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start on the medicine. Now, this is the stuff that works for me. Everyone's got their own formula. I'm just sharing what works for me. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hit some Dayquil. Dayquil has all the things I need to start clearing out my lungs, clearing out my sinuses a bit, remove some of the pain. I'm in pain. And then through the day, I'm going to drink a lot of just water, room temperature water. I'm going to take my vitamins and possibly a Sudafed, definitely an Allegra, because my allergies always play into the game. And I'm going to use some nasal Flonase. And then through the day, I'm going to warm up. So I'm going to start that procedure now. I'm going to try and get this situation into shape to actually try and cut part of a song or the full song later today. All right, I'm off to the races. I'll see you in a minute. Let's see how I do. All right, welcome back. Part 2 of the experiment. The experiment, it's not going well. I kind of thought that with the medications I had taken, that I would be able to get this thing a little more under control than I am able to. Ended up taking some stuff, and I took some nap. I took a lot of nap, and I still feel like crap. But I'm pretending that this is a show day, and the goal of trying to get yourself, well, you're not going to get yourself healthy. You're not going to cure whatever it is that you have on a show day by slamming a bunch of drugs. But what you can do is you can get yourself usable, right? You can get yourself to the point of peaking for an hour or an hour and a half. Typically our shows are an hour and a half, hour 45. What you can do is you can get it to where all of the things that you've taken and all the remedies that you've worked on peak at that time period. And that's what I'm working towards right now. So I've kind of paced myself out. I'm kind of an hour behind. I actually wanted to do this bit of warm up about an hour ago, but I was stuck on the couch, and frankly, I was in a lot of pain. But I managed to get up a little bit ago. First thing I did was I made myself a throat coat. I think you can see this. Been using this for years. What I did was I make a concoction of throat coat, and I like to put honey in it. Some people like to add lemon to it as well. I don't really do as well with the lemon. I just go traditionally a lot of honey and throat coat. So I'm drinking that. Please don't take anything that I'm saying here as medical advice, because it's not. And I know there's a lot of you out there going, "Oh, you should do this, you should do that, or you should do this." Doing this a long time, this is what works for me. I'm not saying it's going to work for you. The point of the matter is that you gear whatever works for you, gear your preparations to where the best you feel all day is for that hour and a half during your show. So right now it's about 10:05. We would be in the middle of sound check. And so I'd kind of have to be sounding pretty decent. Obviously, no one is completely warmed up and ready to go during sound check, but I have to be able to function and not embarrass myself. So on days where things are severe, now I really, really, really don't recommend doing this a lot. Ibuprofen is a real big help because it reduces the swelling in your throat a little bit. And I have used this many, many times on the road, especially on really important shows. The problem with ibuprofen is if you take it too often or you take it too much, it's going to hurt your body. So I don't recommend it a lot. But today I want to peak. Let's say ibuprofen is usually good for about 4 hours. Or about 2.5 hours, it would be full strength and I'd be feeling the effects of the ibuprofen. It would be opening my throat. I'd be doing a lot of blowing my nose, cleaning my sinuses out, which I haven't done here. I haven't done any singing yet. So this is what you get. This is what we're going to get here. And again, this is the warm-up I do every single show. I start with a hum. Now, I just took the ibuprofen, so that's got no effect right now. It's only the Dayquil that is really affecting me. And the throat coat, believe it or not, that's already starting to help. And then I change vowels. Now, it's on the O's is where you can tell I'm trying to get a little bit prettier. Oh, this is going so swimmingly well. So you can hear that I'm gaining some of the voice, right? It's coming back. It's cleaning up a bit. I'm going to give it a couple more hours, try and clean my voice out some more with some exercises off camera, and we'll see how I do in a couple of hours. I'll be right back. Welcome back to part 3 of my sick day experiment. So I have gone through all the things I would have done to get me to showtime. Right now, it would be 8 o'clock. It would be showtime. I'd have to walk out on stage and do the thing. I'm sick. I'm pretty sick. And as the day went on, I didn't get any better. I feel good enough to where I would walk out on stage and I would do the show. Now, if I was home and I was doing a 4-hour local gig, because when you do club gigs at home, typically they run 3 50-minute sets, 4 45s, whatever, but it's a span of usually about 4 hours sometimes. It's a long night. So if I was home, I would try and find a sub. If I couldn't find a sub, I would just go do it. And that's just the way it is. Out on the road, there is no sub. It's you. You got to do the job. Now, at some point, you're so sick that you can't access all the notes you need to hit. You can still hear the sick in my voice. You can still hear the congestion. All the preparation, all the things I did got me to the point to where if I was on a touring gig, I would walk out and I would sing. And to demonstrate that, it's the Peter Gabriel song that I use as my warm-up. It's going to sound nasally and it's going to sound congested, but you can hear that I can at least hit the notes. I can pitch, I could blend, I could sing my parts and do the job. So this is what it sounds like. Get so lost sometimes. Days pass and this emptiness, it fills my heart. When I want to run away, well, I drive off in my car. Whichever way I go, well, I come back to the place that you are. And all my instincts, they return in the grand facade. So soon we'll burn without a noise, without my pride. Will I reach out from the inside? In your eyes, the light, the heat in your eyes. I am complete in your eyes. I see the doorway to 1,000 churches. Your eyes, the resolution of all our fruitless searches. In your eyes I see the light and the heat in your eyes. I want to touch the light and the heat I see in your eyes. To be that complete in your eyes. All right, not great because I'm sick, but I did what I could do to get as close to doing the show as possible. I would have to really concentrate because you know how it is when you're sick. You really start getting loopy just to make it through the set, just to play guitar through the set. It's an hour and 30-minute show and 90-minute show, and that's a rough thing to do. So anyway, that kind of sums it up. That's what I would do to get through the show on a sick day. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go climb back on that couch and try and be unsick. But, I don't think that's going to happen for a day or two. John Wesley, the Journeyman Guitarist, out. I've got a Patreon. There's going to be more content on the Patreon. Please like, subscribe, join the Patreon, buy me a cup of coffee, whatever you want to do. Thank you for listening. I hope you don't get sick on a gig, but if you do, I hope some of these tips help you. The Journeyman Guitarist, signing out.